Hi, Assalamualaikum. My name is Ahmad Nakiuddin. So for target sample for our project is, first we try to find the student. Second, student from another university. Third, worker or staff at UM. For sampling approach, we share the link through WhatsApp, and so as we know, WhatsApp is the largest apps to share anything, so our link is simple to use. Second, we can approach the link to student at industries or cafe. This we can approach them to give a cooperation to fill up our survey.
I will continue our presentation for introduction. Based on the survey that we have conducted, we have decided to make some surveys about different personality styles and coping on social media among Instagram users in Malaysia. There are many questionnaires on the survey that we have done, which involve 50 respondents. In the survey, we asked them about reasons for using Instagram, which are social interaction, archiving, self-expression, escapism, and picking each individually. We also asked them about cyberbullying, whether they have been cyberbullied by other users. Instagram continuous self-worth, which is what they feel when using Instagram, and active user versus passive user, which is to survey the level of their activeness on Instagram. The reason to ask all these questions is due to the data being relatable and useful to know the relationship between usage of Instagram, psychological factors, and their relations with cyberbullying. Reason using Instagram: social interaction, archiving, self-expression, escapism, and picking each individually. The problem domain of the study revolves around understanding the relationship between different personality styles and coping on social media, which is Instagram. We aim to gain insight into the motivations behind why people use Instagram and how this usage affects their psychological well-being. The study starts by examining the motivations behind using Instagram, which are identified as social interaction, archiving, self-expression, escapism, and picking. Social interaction includes activities such as interacting with a number of people, maintaining good relationships with others, keeping in touch with friends and family, and connecting with people who share similar interests. Archiving refers to activities such as recording daily events through photos, creating a personal space, and updating photos and videos with various filters applied. Self-expression encompasses activities such as providing updates, being noticed by others, expressing one's actual self, and showing off. Escapism refers to activities such as escaping from reality, forgetting about troubles, avoiding loneliness, and relaxing. Picking refers to activities such as browsing photos related to one's interests, browsing daily life of celebrities, and browsing daily life of people all over the world. To understand the level of active and passive usage of Instagram, the study employs the passive and active use measure, which was adapted for the present study to reflect various Instagram activities. The measure assesses how frequently one performs activities such as posting photos to one's profile, commenting on other users' photos, sending direct messages, checking stories, viewing viewing photos and videos or reels, tagging other users in videos, browsing the newsfeed passively or actively, looking through friends' posts, and sharing status through IG stories. The study also assesses the extent to which Instagram affects people's self-worth through a measure called Instagram Contingent Self-Worth. The measure assesses the extent to which people's self-esteem depends on the likes and followers they receive on Instagram and how they feel when their Instagram posts or comments go unnoticed. Finally, the study measures the experience of cyberbullying on Instagram through a measure called cyberbullying victimization. The measure assesses whether someone has experienced abusive or cruel comments, uploaded nasty or embarrassing images, spread false information, or photo shame on Instagram. In conclusion, the problem domain of the study involves examination the relationship between the usage of Instagram, psychological factors, and cyberbullying. By understanding the motivation behind why people use Instagram and the extent to which it affects their psychological well-being and experience of cyberbullying, we aim to gain a deeper understanding of the impact of social media on individuals. The objective of this survey is to examine the relationship between usage of Instagram, psychological factors, and their association with cyberbullying. The survey aims to assess the motivation for using Instagram and measure the usage pattern through passive and active use measure. Additionally, it aims to measure the level of Instagram contingent self-worth and the experience of cyberbullying victimization among the respondents. Now, I will continue to the dataset description. The dataset is used to determine the numerical summaries, which is mean, mood, median, and standard deviation. The table and charts of the survey about the relationship between different personality styles and coping on social media. Furthermore, in this survey, we received exactly 73 respondents through the questionnaire that we distributed using social media such as WhatsApp group and others. Based on the result that we have obtained, we only take 50 respondents as a sample. There are four types of attributes in this survey, which is reasons using Instagram, active users versus passive users, Instagram contingent self-worth, and cyberbullying. The data were taken from Instagram users in Malaysia, which is 50 respondents. The information of the attribute first is reason for using Instagram, which is social interaction, archiving, self-expression, escapism, and peaking. Then the active user and versus active user versus passive users, which is reflection of various Instagram activities like posting, commenting, sending messages, viewing stories, and browsing the news feed. And the next one is Instagram contingent self-worth, which is perception of self-esteem and self-worth based on their Instagram activities. The last one is cyberbullying victimization, which is abusive comments, nasty images, false information, photo shaming, and self-information has been taken.
Okay, now I want to continue about our group part, which is data analysis. In this project, we apply two graphical representations, which are tables and pie charts, and three numerical summaries, which are mean, median, and standard deviation. In addition to representing the data that we collected, we also use bar chart and use the data to execute the sample mean, median, and standard deviation to display the numerical summaries. Now, I want to explain about the first one, which is age. Based on the data provided, it shows that the majority of the respondents, 60%, fall in the age range of 21 until 24. The age range of 17 until 20 and 25 until 29 have a relatively smaller portion of respondents, with 28% and 12% respectively. This information can provide insights into the age demographics of the survey population and may be useful in understanding their characteristics and preference. But the second one is gender. From the data provided, it can be concluded that the majority of the survey respondents are male, accounting for 64% of the total respondents. Meanwhile, female respondents make up 36% of the total respondents. This information can give insight into the gender distribution of the survey population and may be useful in understanding the gender-based differences and preference among the respondents. And then now I want to continue about the uh, about this part, which is the status. Okay, from the data provided, it can be concluded that the majority of the respondents, which is 78%, are full-time students. Meanwhile, 40% of respondents are working, 6% are working and part-time students, and only 2% are unemployed. This information sheds light on the employment status of the survey population and may be useful in understanding their current responsibility, uh, work schedule, work schedules, and financial status. The data provide and after that we continue about institution name. The data provided shows that 70% of the respondents are affiliated with University Utara Malaysia. The other institutions represented include Universiti Kebangsaan Malaysia with 2% of respondents, Universiti Malaysia Pahang with 2% respondents, Universiti Teknologi Mara with 4% of respondents, and those who are working with 22% of respondents. This information gives insight into the educational background and affiliations of the survey population and may be useful in understanding their learning experience and career paths. Okay, the next part is the time. Based on the data, it can be concluded that 30% of respondents spend 30 minutes or less on Instagram per day, while 32% spend 1 until 2 hours. 20% of the respondents spend 3 until 4 hours on Instagram per day, while 18% spend more than 4 hours. This information provides an understanding of the time management habits on Instagram of the survey population and can help in identifying the average amount of time spent on Instagram. Okay, now I want to continue about my part, which is the followers. 70% of the respondents have more than 400 followers, while the other respondents have less than 400 followers and are represented in smaller percentage, which is 4 until 8%. This information provides insight into the social media presence and popularity of the survey population. And the last one is account public. From the survey results, it can be seen that the majority of respondents, 62%, have a public Instagram account. On the other hand, 38% of respondents have a private account. This result suggests that the majority of people are comfortable with sharing their content with a wide audience, while others prefer to limit who can see their posts.
Now I will proceed to analysis results. In part B, there are 5 parts. The first one is social interaction. So this is our calculation, the bar chart and box plot. Based on the data that has been collected for social interaction respondent, there were 50 respondents from different status. Agree strongly is 18%, agree to slightly agree is 17%, slightly disagree to disagree is 12%, and disagree strongly is 0% of the total. From the calculation that have been made, the mean is 2.43 while the mode is 2.95, which is also headed to the agree, which show the highest frequency among the others. The median is 3.73 and standard deviation is 1.02. From the calculation, we can see that the data has slightly positive central tendency. The mean value being close to 2.5, which is agree slightly to agree strongly, indicates that the majority of the respondents have a positive opinion about the social interaction, which is in line with the 70% frequency of the agree slightly to agree strongly category. The standard deviation of 1.02 indicates that the data has moderate variability. This suggests that while most respondents have a positive opinion, there is still some variation in the responses as indicated by the slightly disagree to disagree, which is 12%, and disagree strongly 0% categories. Overall, the mean and the standard deviation suggest that the social interaction is generally viewed positively by the respondents with a moderate level of variability in their opinion. opinions. For the next part is archiving result. Based on the data that has been collected for archiving respondents, there were 50 respondents from different status. Agree strongly is 14%, agree to slightly agree is 60%, slightly disagree to disagree is 26%, and disagree strongly is 0% of the total. From the calculation that have been made, the mean is 2.87 while the mode is 3.115, which is also headed to the agree, which show the highest frequency among the others. The median is 3.97 and standard deviation is 1.19. From the calculation, the mean, which is 2.87, is higher than the mode, 3.15, indicating that the data has a positive skew. The mean represents the average of all the values and is affected by extreme values, whereas the mode is the most frequently occurring value in the data. The standard deviation, which is 1.19, measures the spread of the data around the mean. The lower standard deviation indicates that the data values are close to the mean, while a higher standard deviation indicates that the data values are more spread out. In this case, the standard deviation is moderate, suggesting that there is some variability in the data, but it is not too extreme. In conclusion, the mean and the standard deviation of the data suggest that the majority of respondents agree with the statement and that there is moderate variability in the responses. Now I will continue to the self-expression result. Based on the data that has been collected for self-expression respondents, there were 50 respondents from different status. Agree strongly is 6%, agree to slightly agree is 60%, slightly disagree to disagree is 28%, and disagree strongly is 6% of the total. From the calculation that have been made, the mean is 3.18 while the mode is 3.26, which is also headed to the agree, which show the highest frequency among the others. A median is 4.33 and standard deviation is 1.35. The mean of 3.18 suggests that the overall response of the 50 respondents leans toward agree. Meanwhile, the standard deviation of 1.35 indicates that the responses are relatively spread out. A lower standard deviation would suggest that the responses are more tightly grouped around the mean, while the higher standard deviation indicates greater variability in the responses. In this case, the standard deviation of 1.35 suggests that there is a relatively large spread in the responses, with some respondents agreeing strongly and others slightly disagreeing or disagreeing strongly. This is the result of the escapism. Based on the data that has been collected for archiving respondents, there were 50 respondents from different status. Agree strongly is 8%, agree to slightly agree is 48%, slightly disagree to disagree is 40%, and disagree strongly is 4% of the total. From the calculations that have been made, the mean is 3.26 while the mode is 3.67, which is also headed to the agree, which show the highest frequency among the others. A median is 4.5 and standard deviation is 1.36. Based on the calculation of the mean, which is 3.26 and standard deviation 1.36, we can conclude that the mean of 3.26 indicates that the average response of the 50 respondents is slightly above the agree slightly category, which is the most frequent response with a frequency of 48%. The standard deviation of 1.36 suggests that the responses are spread out evenly from the mean. A larger standard deviation indicates a greater spread of the data, while a smaller standard deviation indicates that the data is more tightly clustered around the mean. In this case, a standard deviation of 1.36 suggests that the responses are moderately spread out. This is the last result for Part B, which is picking. Based on the data that has been collected for picking, respondents that were 50 respondents from different status. Agree strongly is 20%, agree to slightly agree is 56%, slightly disagree to disagree is 20%, and disagree strongly is 4% of the total. From the calculation that have been made, the mean is 2.81, while the mood is 3, which is also headed to the agree, which show the highest frequency among the others. The median is 3.79 and standard deviation is 2.56. The mean of 2.81 indicates that the average response of the 50 respondents is slightly agree. The mood of 3 also support this, as the highest frequency is among the slightly agree to agree range. The standard deviation of 2.56 indicates that the responses are spread out and there is relatively large variance in the answer. This could suggest that there is not a strong consensus among the 50 respondents, as some may strongly agree while others may strongly disagree. In conclusion, based on the mean and standard deviation, it can be concluded that the majority of the respondents agreed or slightly agreed with the survey questions, but there was a significant variation in their responses.
Okay, now I want to continue about analysis results, which is my part. Okay, in this part, based on the data that has been collected for social interaction respondents that were 50 respondents for different status. Strongly disagree to disagree is 2%, disagree to undecided is 46%, undecided to agree is 44%, and agree to strongly agree is 6%, and strongly disagree is 2% of the total. From the calculations that have been made, the mean is 3.1, while the mode is 3.91, which is also headed to the agree, which showed the highest frequency. Among the others, a median is 3.1 and the standard deviation is 0.73.
Now I would like to tell about the active user versus passive user. For active user, average to 1 and until 2, we can get 1 frequency. 2 less than 3, we can get 50 people. 3 less than 4, we can get 25. And 4 less than 5, we can get 8. And 5 less than 6, we can get 1. So total is 50%. For mean active user, we get 3.36, and mode for the highest frequency that we get is 3.74, and median for the active user is 3.8, and standard deviation for the active user is 0.78. For the passive user, 1 less than 2 we get 2, 2 less than 3 we get 18, 3 less than 4 we get 14, 4 less than 5 we get 16, and 5 less than 6 we get 0. So the total is 50, and we can see the bar chart. The highest frequency is 2 less than 3. For mean in this passive user is 3.38, and the mode for the highest frequency in this passive user is 3.6, and median for the passive user is 3.71, and standard deviation is 0.92.
Assalamualaikum, and my name is Shazwan Zani, and my metric number is 279585. So I have been doing survey for cyberbullying victimization. As you can see, for the survey that we have been done, I can divide the average class for 4 class: 0 to 1, 2 to 3, 4 to 5, and 6 to 7. And we also add another class, and it was class boundaries, frequency, cumulative frequency, midpoint, midpoint square 2, FM, and FM2. So in this table, you can see 4 to 5 class for the average class is the class median for this table. And also, as you can see in the graph chart, for the average class, 6 to 7 class have the highest frequency for the 31 frequency. Now in this slide, I will show you about the mean, mode, and median and standard deviation. For our mean for this table is 5.51, and for the mode is 6.21. For the median, we get 3.85, and for the standard deviation, it shows 1.45. Okay, for the box plots, based on the frequency that we have been do in the survey, it shows the minimum is 1, and the median, our midpoint is 9, and the maximum for this box plot is 31. Okay, so based on the data that has been collected for cyberbullying victimization respondent, that were 50 respondents from different status. Never is 38%. Less than once a month is 22%. Once a month is 6%. 2 to 3 times a month is 20%. Once a week is 8%, and 2 to 3 times a week is 4%, and lastly is daily 2% of the total. From the calculation that have been made, the mean is 5.51, while the mode is 6.21, which is also headed to the sometimes which show the highest frequency among the others. A median is 3.85, and the standard deviation is 1.45.
For hypothesis, we carry out 5 hypotheses regarding the 5 construct question, which is social interaction, archiving, self-expression, escapism, and picking. All these hypotheses will be connect with the cyberbullying in Instagram. For first hypothesis, we try to connecting self-expression with for first hypothesis is connecting social interaction with cyberbullying in Instagram. To do the hypothesis, we use the Microsoft Excel Data Analysis Toolpack to enable us to run a simple linear regression on the data which is we looking for. Once the running a regression, we could view the output data to determine the correlation in the data. So for the social interaction, here we get 0.2126 is showing a very weak to no correlation. The closer the multiple R number get to 0 means no relation at all, and the R2 value is the sum of the square deviation of the original data from the mean. R2 is 0.0452, which is not good. It means the 4.52% of our value fit the regression analysis model. In other words, 4.52 of the cyberbullying Y value are explained by the social interaction. So the effect of social interaction on cyberbullying was examined using the simple linear regression. The fitted regression model was cyberbullying equal to 9.524 plus negative 0.38825 times social interaction. The overall regression was not statistically significant. For the second hypothesis is archiving connecting with the cyberbullying. In this part, the multiple R value as seen above, we can see here we get the 0.247 is showing a very weak to no correlation. The R2 value is the 0.061. It is this 6.1% value fit the regression analysis model. In other words, 6.1 of the cyberbullying Y value are explained by the social interaction. Hence, in other words, 6.1 of the cyberbullying are explained archiving, hence is a weak for the regression analysis model. For the third hypothesis, we try to connecting the self-expression with the cyberbullying. The multiple R value, we can see it as 0.0115 is showing a very weak for no correlation. The R2 value is the sum of the square deviation of the original data from the mean. R2 is 0.0001. It means the 0.001 of our value fit the regression analysis data. In other words, 0.01 of the cyberbullying are explained social explained self-expression is the weak regression analysis data. The effect of self-expression of cyberbullying was examined using the simple linear regression. The fitted regression model was cyberbullying is 5.757 plus negative 0.0159 times self-expression. The overall regression was not statistically significant. For the third hypothesis, connecting with self-expression with cyberbullying, we got the multiple R is 0.0115 is showing a very weak no correlation. The R2 value is the sum of the squared deviation of the original data from the mean. R2 is 0.0001, which is not good. It means that 0.01% of our value fit the regression analysis data. In other words, 0.01% of the cyberbullying are explained by the self-expression. Hence, this is a weak for the regression analysis model. The effect of self-expression on cyberbullying was examined using the simple regression. The fit regression model was cyberbullying 5.757 plus negative 0.0159 divided by self-expression. The overall regression was not statistically significant. The R2 is 0.0001, F is 0.0063, and p-value is 0.9367. For hypothesis, we try to connecting the escapism with cyberbullying. The multiple R value is the 0.0844 is showing a very weak to not correlation. The R2 is the sum of square is 0.0071. It means the 0.71 of our value fit the regression analysis model. So the effect of escapism on cyberbullying. Cyberbullying is 5.396 plus 0.1042 times escapism. The overall regression was not statistically significant. R2 is 0.71, F is 0.3449, and P is 0.5597. The last hypothesis is picking. We try to connecting picking with the cyberbullying. The multiple R value in this hypothesis is 0.127969. Is showing is very weak to not correlation. The R2 value is the sum of the square deviation in this part is 0.0193, which is not good to fit the regression analysis model. So the effect of the picking on cyberbullying was examined. Cyberbullying is 9.1397 plus negative 0.153 times picking. The overall regression was not statistically significant. The R2 is 0.163 and the F is 0.7959 and the P value is 0.37685. That's all from me. Thank you.
Now for discussion and conclusion. The main purpose of the study is to survey and investigate cyberbullying on Instagram. Google Form we publish is to survey it by 4 parts, which is reason using Instagram, analyze of cyberbullying, Instagram contingent self-worth, and active user versus passive user for people until they reach 50 respondents. In this survey, we have classified it by age, gender, and status. Based on our survey, there are 4 sections that we classified. Firstly, the reason for using Instagram are that we have many questions to ask people that have been categorized by social interaction, archiving, self-expression, escaping, and picking. Secondly, analysis of cyberbullying, which is how many people have been bullied while using Instagram. Thirdly, Instagram contingent self-worth. Lastly, active users and versus passive users, which is we analyze which categories have more potential to be bullied while using Instagram. In the first section, we analyze reason for using Instagram. Based on data, the mean of social interaction is 2.43, which is why people slightly agree to agree, which with the question that we asked that shows 70% of them. Next is the mean of archiving is 2.87 that people also agree with the question that shows most of them agree to slightly agree with 60%. Other than that, the mean of self-expression is 2.87 that people shows that they are agree to express themselves more than they express other people, and the results show majority agree to slightly agree with the question that shows 60% of them. Next is the mean of escapism is 3.26, which show most people vote is agree to slightly agree with the question to relax, that shows 48% of them. Lastly is the mean of picking 2.81. This shows that most of them are using their Instagram for picking for other lifestyle, that shows agree to slightly agree is 56%. In the second section, we have made the analysis of cyberbullying. From the data, we conclude that 38% are never being bullied in their Instagram. That shows that most of them not being bullied on Instagram, but we need to prevent the bad habit of the rest that have been bullied on Instagram. In the third section is survey about Instagram contingency self-worth. Based on the survey, the mean of this survey is 3.10. This shows that Instagram has good quality for people and it has more pros and than cons. In the last section are active user and passive users. Based on data that showed that 50% of people in this survey sometimes using Instagram. It means the passive user are more than active user in our survey. In summary, based on our survey, Instagram users are not frequently being bullied, and the chance to be bullied on Instagram is very low. So from our survey show that most of them are never being bullied in Instagram. In conclusion, Instagram is still safe to use for our daily life social media. This is our reference. Our reference based on our Google Form survey, and this is the question that we asked them to get some survey for about cyber bullying. Lastly, also for appendix, this is our result from the Google Form survey, around for 50 respondents that we get in UEM and outside respondent who are not the student from UEM.